This is Lisa from Mobile Tech Review, and it's Smackdown time. And you know what? We're going to do the little ones. Everybody's talking about the Note 8 versus the iPhone 10 or the 8 Plus at least. A lot of people still prefer the, relatively speaking, smaller phones and the more affordable ones. So this is the iPhone 8. This is the Samsung Galaxy S8, which has been on the market longer. Obviously, though, they're both on the small side for today's phones, the Samsung is going to be the bigger phone. They're priced about the same in terms of list price, but there are a lot of deals out there for the Samsung, in part because it's been out for several months, and just because I think Samsung left some padding, some room for promotions and all that sort of thing. But nominally speaking, they're priced the same. Now, I know some of you're already way pro Android or iOS, so you're just watching this for entertainment. I hope you find it entertaining. But for those of you who are open to both platforms, I hope you find this useful. We're going to smack them down now. So let's get this out of the way. The usual preconceived notions are once again pretty much true. The iPhone 8 benchmarks considerably faster than the Galaxy S8. This happens just about every year. Apple has some real skills, mad skills, when it comes to doing a phone CPU. It's faster. What does that mean in real life? I mean, the phone's probably faster than you need it to be a lot of the time. Well, it does feel fast and fluid. It allows for a really good augmented reality experience, better than anything I've seen on Android so far. It also allows for some of those sophisticated photo and video effects that you're going to get more on the 8 Plus because it has that fancy portrait lens. Alas, neither of these has dual lenses. They have single lens cameras. So yeah, it's put to good use. Then there's the usual Apple has a controlled ecosystem, so it's typically more stable and doesn't bog down and slow down as much. With Android, it's wonderful because you can customize it, and all the manufacturers can come up with their own overlays and skins. We have Samsung Experience, formerly known as TouchWiz in this case, but they can lead to some slowing down over time or even initially. You know that every year we get to say the same thing about it. The same is still true again here. When we're talking about platforms, for those of you who are Mac owners, it's nicer if you stick with the iPhone because of that great integration of things like iMessage and FaceTime, the easy using of photos to transfer your photos wirelessly and automatically onto your Mac. Those little creature comforts there make it, yeah, it's a little bit nicer. But if you're using Windows, then hey, whatever, either way. In terms of the actual physical phones, well, the Galaxy S8 has the higher-end specs. It has a higher resolution display. It's AMOLED. In fact, it's sort of more of a match for the iPhone 10 in terms of display size and having an AMOLED display. For durability, both of these are glass front and back, and doubtless you can find any number of drop tests already on YouTube. Guess what? If you drop them from shoulder height, there's a good chance the backs on either of these is going to crack. The front face actually is often the one that survives a little bit better. So with either of these, if you have a case of the dropsies, well, you want a case. Speaking of cases, I want to thank our sponsor, Kodabi. They make these cases that you're looking at here, and this is a glass back phone. Most likely you're going to want to use a case. They have a nice variety of thin yet durable cases. They have the polycarbonate impact-resistant clear case, that's my favorite because you can still see how pretty the phone is, and a variety of other thin and light cases. Best of all, they cost around $20 to $30, so they're not going to break the bank after you've already spent so much money on your phone. The cameras this time are pretty much on parity, which is nice to see. Often Samsung pulls a little bit ahead. Camera quality, you can see some examples on screen here. What's interesting is the Samsung tends to take the cooler photos, a little more blue, a little bit less of the yellows and oranges, which means landscapes look great, people can look a little pale. But this time around, depending on the situation, you can see in some of the photos that I took, they actually swapped places with that. It's a real tight race here. So either way, you're getting a good camera in the end. The iPhone does pull ahead a little bit though because it can do slow-mo, 240 frames per second video at 1080p. The Galaxy only does it at 720p, so you're getting higher resolution there. Both of the cameras have optical image stabilization and a pretty close rear field of view. The Samsung is ever so slightly wider there. For the front cameras, the iPhone has a 7 megapixel, the Galaxy has an 8 megapixel. They're both pretty good. I slightly prefer the Galaxy. Sometimes the iPhone looks a little bit pale or a little bit murky. I mean, not all the time, just every once in a while. For the display, well, the AMOLED wins for having the more vibrant popping colors and the infinite contrast and those really inky deep blacks. That said, I'll say something for the iPhone's new True Tone display. It has a wide P3 color gamut. It gets to be around 625-ish nits of brightness. If you look at them both in person, the iPhone's whites still look a little bit brighter and the screen looks a little bit more painted on, not like it's under glass. It's still not a bad display, folks. So I leave it up to you. I know a lot of people like AMOLED, OLED, and that's why Apple's going to be offering that with the iPhone 10 as well. Of course, the Galaxy, even when it's running at the reduced default resolution, is still higher resolution than the iPhones. Of course, it is a physically larger display, 5.8 inches versus 4.7. But remember, the Galaxy has that long, tall, narrow thing. So if you actually look at the viewable content for a typical 16 by 9 content, like this video you're watching now, most everything that's going to be streaming video, the amount that you see is not as much more as you would think, because you get the black bars on the side with the Samsung and any other tall aspect ratio phone. The same thing is going to hold true for the iPhone 10 as well. So keep that in mind. If you're video-centric, then it might not be a big real estate gain for you. But for things like using the web browser, other stuff like that, games, once they're optimized for the taller screen, you know, on Android land, then you may be gaining some more real estate. Now the S8, speaking of brightness, can get even brighter. We know that it can exceed 1,000 nits. So there you have it. They both can do HDR on Netflix, but won't you get more HDRA with more brightness? Well, that's a little bit harder to say, because that 1,000 nits is only on auto brightness mode when you're outdoors in bright lighting. Normally it won't do that because it would tank your battery life so fast. And my guess is when it's playing HDR video, it's not going to crank to anything like 1,000 nits either. For biometrics, it's really hard to beat Apple's Touch ID. It's so easy, it's so instantaneous. It's supported for Apple Pay, a lot of third-party apps support, more so than with Android so far. When I use my Galaxy phones, not many of them actually incorporate the fingerprint scanner. It's so good, Touch ID, that some people are worried about actually going with an iPhone 10 because they don't want to give it up. That says a lot. Samsung did a big ouch here, as we all know. They moved their very good fingerprint scanner to the back of the phone and really high up, so it's not the easiest thing to find. It's right next to the camera lens. You can't really feel which is which. So their answer was to put an iris scanner on the front. There's also face scanning, but it's not very secure. A photo will work as well, so that you can't use that for things like Samsung Pay. So we're back to the iris scanner. It works pretty well, but it's not super fast. It's not instantaneous. Sometimes it is. If your face is overexposed with a lot of bright light, it might have problems. If you wear glasses like me, a lot of times I have to flip my glasses up because it takes too long. That's not as super ideal. So for biometrics, ease of use, wide support, Touch ID is going to win. So there you have it. S8 versus iPhone 8. Every year it's the iPhone versus the Galaxy comparison. Now you've had it for this year, and they both have their strong points, as you've seen. On hardware alone, those metrics, Samsung always wins. On the experience, the ecosystem, and the relative speed and stability, including the CPU speed, the iPhone wins. Either way, you're getting a great phone. I'm Lisa from Mobile Tech Review. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more cool tech videos, and thumbs up if you like this vid.